Have you ever been afraid to take a leap of faith because you don't want to be left with the lonely feeling of vulnerability? Are you in a corporate job that leaves you comfortable but unhappy? Or are you someone who doesn't want to take ownership of your own mistakes in order to grow? AJ Krow is the owner of Peak Luxury Travel in Dallas. He's experienced the full gamut of the corporate experience, being at the top of the corporate ladder as the vice president of sales for a Fortune 100 company, to the bottom of the totem pole, being jobless after leaving that job to dive into the deep end to experience a new work challenge, only to have the COVID-19 pandemic put a wrench in those plans. He joined me this week because he was able to put the puzzle pieces of his life back together and merge them into his business, combining both of his passions in real estate and travel. He wanted to share his inspirational journey, provide some insights on how the COVID-19 pandemic has affected the travel industry as a whole, and provide his personal perspective on how owning our own happiness is our own individual responsibility. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Hey Dave, if you're ready, we'll welcome you to the program, and we're excited to talk to you about the travel industry and your personal journey this morning. Thanks so much for
Yeah.
being here this morning.
Thanks for having me.
So when we look at a recent report from Forbes, it said that that the travel industry won't recover from 2019 levels until 2024, and they'll lose about $500 billion because of the pandemic. Now, as the owner of your own travel company, I'm wondering if I can start you off by asking you, what do you think of the findings and the future of the travel industry?
Yeah. So when I see those kind of studies and I just kind of look at the industry as a whole, what does it look like now versus 5 years from now, 10 years from now? I kind of separate that into two different buckets. I look at business travel as a piece of that, and then I look at consumer travel, which is what, people like you and me would be more concerned with. And, business travel, I think, is the most fundamentally transformed piece of that. And I don't see business travel coming back, maybe ever to the levels that it was. The days of, people being gone for, 4 days a week for every week. I don't see that coming back. So then it's really a question of, okay, how does that impact you and me as just leisure travelers? And so much of what the airlines and the hotels are driven by is that business revenue, because they're generally higher fares, because they're a lot of times last minute. So it's a big revenue driver for them. And it's a big way to fill the seats. So, right now, it's actually a interesting time for leisure travel. Now, obviously, our destinations for Americans, especially, is rather limited, but there are deals to be had. There's a lot of empty hotel rooms. There are empty plane seats, and so you're seeing fares, significantly reduced. You're seeing hotels offering, more or less half price rates. So it's a great opportunity if your risk tolerance allows to go, stay in some places you wouldn't normally go to, and jump on some of these good fare deals, because I don't see them lasting a tremendous amount of time. I think you've got certain airlines that have said, hey, we're going to go after people who want the safest possible experience, like a Delta, for instance, and they're commanding a revenue premium for it. But you've also got other side of that, your American Airlines, United, more or less, that are saying basically, hey, we've got to get people back on planes at whatever the cost may be. So they're offering more discounted fares. So you're seeing those low 100 fares for round trip tickets that, once the CARES funding runs out, in October, that may change when they're no longer as heavily subsidized. But from here until 2024, it's kind of a crapshoot, right? Just because everything changes, from today to tomorrow. But I think you'll get surges more than you have in the past, when it's just kind of been fairly steady. But you're going to get, once things clear up as much as they can be, I think that's when you're going to see people in droves going and targeting certain places.
Now, just before this started, you told me that your business hasn't really been affected. So could you tell me about that and your thoughts on how we restore consumer confidence to travel?
Yeah. So the one thing that has been affected most in the travel industry, and for travel agencies specifically, is there's no cruise business. That was kind of the bedrock of the travel agency business for really the last 50 years. So that's gone. And for me, a lot of my clients are in that age range that has a higher risk tolerance. Your late 20s, early 30s. And so I've sent a few different groups to Mexico specifically, because at this point, that's about the only place that will accept Americans. Europe's off the table. Some of the Caribbean islands are off the table. So it's just really been people that are looking for, hey, I just want to get away. I don't really care where it is, but I want somewhere where I can go and feel like, it's not the coronavirus day to day that we're all used to and experiencing. So, and when I say things are going well, it's compared to what I expected it to be, which was, essentially zero. So having, some level of activity has been a positive for sure. But it's making sure that you got a well-rounded client base, so you're not so heavily dependent on, either the cruise population or, an older demographic that is, rightfully so, a little more hesitant during this time. But again, it's really just, everyone's got a different risk tolerance. And it's kind of the term that I've been using most when talking about travel nowadays. So, it's a limited opportunity, but the opportunity is there for people that are willing to travel, and are willing to take that risk and jump on some of these great deals.
And what do you think is the key to making sure that the travel industry comes back once the pandemic is over?
Yeah, it's about restoring consumer confidence. So it's basically, in the travel industry, there's two ways to do that. You either provide and kind of framing it in this post-coronavirus or coronavirus world, is you either get people by providing the safest possible experience and then commanding a premium for that, or say, getting prices to a level where somebody says, okay, I may catch coronavirus there, or maybe, I don't feel totally safe doing it, but at this price level, I'm willing to take the risk. And then you've got to be able to execute, once you're at that level and you get the consumer in, these hospitality companies have to be able to execute on it. You've got to be able to continue to keep consumer confidence. And, for a cruise line, for instance, that's just going to be, can you keep people at a distance? You've already got people confined in one space, for an extended period of time. So are you doing the proper protocols? Do people feel safe once they get on board? Are you able to contain outbreaks? And so it's really just, companies have to figure out what end of the spectrum they want to be on, and then go after and attack and execute on that market.
Krow lives his life by one simple philosophy: own your own mistakes and control your own happiness. It's a mantra that's led him to success in his entrepreneurial aspirations and his personal life as well. So I asked him to expand on the theory and how we can all adopt a similar mindset.
Yeah, so is where it came from. I was a big reader of a lot of just kind of economic philosophy in college, especially. That kind of got started on that, and I stumbled on Ayn Rand, and read a lot of her stuff, and a lot of the kind of a theory of objectivism. And I'm not a believer in everything that was in her books or what she said, but one thing that really stuck out to me is basically that I don't have a right to anyone else's time or labor or body or anything like that. And it just kind of molded over time into this, something that I really appreciated, which was, hey, we're ultimately responsible for ourselves. We have agency. I think one of the most dangerous things that can happen to a human is saying you don't have agency, right? You don't have control over yourself and over your decisions. And so that's just something that I take with me every day. And my main belief system is not only are we responsible for ourselves, we're responsible for creating our happiness. We're just, we're responsible for our destiny. I just feel like it allows us to react quicker. It allows us to correct things quicker. When we know that we're in charge and that we can make a difference, rather than just that kind of woe is me philosophy of, well, I can't do anything because this happened to me. And, well, if I do this, then something else is just going to happen to me. And it's always been a frustrating thing to me, when I hear people talk about things that way, or, just don't want to have that approach of, okay, let's, how can I fix this? And, another big influence on me was, a couple of business coaches, Tom Bartow and Jason Selk. They had developed this, relentless solution focus. And it's basically, hey, what's one thing that I can do right now to improve the situation? Doesn't have to be a grand slam, for instance, but, what's just one thing that I can do that can improve the situation? That it just really resonated with me. And I thought it's just a great philosophy to have of, basically just, hey, let's get a single here, right? Let's get on base, and then let's figure it out from there.
And I know that you are someone that was part of corporate America, and then you left your Fortune 100 job to join a startup, and then COVID hit, which allowed you to sort of reinvent yourself and then merge your passions. So I'm just wondering if you could tell me about your personal journey and how it formed you into the person and entrepreneur you are today.
Yeah, so I was with a subsidiary of a large publicly traded food distribution company. It was a great company, great job, paid well, but it wasn't something that I really loved doing. And so I was looking for ways, an opportunity to join, a more dynamic company, that was kind of in that startup type environment, and found something that, was a perfect fit and was what I thought was, perfect job, and opportunity for an equity play, all that kind of stuff that I'd always wanted and dreamed of. And so wound up getting that job. And then on my, so I put in my notice with my previous company, and I wound up on the last day, my last day with my previous company, getting a call from the company that I was supposed to start with, and said, hey, we're in the middle of our Series A fundraising round, and we had, several investors drop out that we didn't expect, and we just unfortunately are going to have to rescind the offer. And so that was not an easy thing with, at the time, a 3-month-old baby, and my wife we just moved into a new house, and it was a tough pill to swallow. But, it's just one of those things that I took the risk. I could have very easily just stayed at the company that I was in and not change and not take a gamble, and been just kind of going through the motions. But it was a tough pill to swallow, but it gave me this opportunity to to finally go after something that I had put off for a while, with every excuse in the book. And it allowed me to I said, hey, going back to that relentless solution focus, hey, what's one thing that I can do now to improve my situation? And it was, all right, put my nose to the grindstone, get this agency off the ground and start doing the legwork. And so it's been a tremendous opportunity, even though it was a tough situation when it happened.
And tell me, what would be your advice to anyone considering leaving the corporate world and sort of following their own passions? What would be your advice to those types of people?
So I'd say, first and foremost, what is your risk tolerance, right? Everybody's situation is a little bit different. Is this something that, given your time, given your resources, given your situation, that you can dedicate yourself fully to? If the answer is yes, then, does it make sense? And ultimately, do you have the support necessary to go after the opportunity, to go after the dream? Again, you in this world, when you're your own boss, when you're trying to create something and get something off the ground, you really do need support, whether it be friends, family, significant others, whatever it may be. And then, something that I thought about a lot when I started was, if you fast forward 10 years and you tell your story, is it something that would be inspirational? Is it something that kind of fits that mold of, I was thinking, man, 10 years from now, wouldn't that, doesn't that sound like the great success story of, I left my, corporate job to pursue my passion and was able to dedicate and grow the business. So those are things I would think about, but then, ultimately, don't be afraid. You should have enough confidence. The way I think about it is, if you have enough confidence in yourself to go after and start your own business, then you should have confidence that you'll be able to find the next thing if something happens and it doesn't work out. But, what's your risk tolerance? Do you have the support that you need? And do you have the confidence in yourself to bet on yourself, which I think everyone should.
And then just finally, just reading about your story, I was certainly inspired because we're about the same age and you're a successful entrepreneur. So I'm just wondering your advice to someone about living a life to the fullest, and what brings you the most success inside and outside the office? Because I know you recently had a baby, so I'm sure that brings you a ton of happiness, right?
Yeah, it's, my situation was, like I said, it was a really tough pill to swallow, but you look back on it, I had the opportunity every single day for the last 6 months to wake my baby up and get to see her and get to spend the day with her and watch her grow, watch every smile, watch all that kind of stuff. And that's just, that's something that you can't put a price on, which was, it was an incredible opportunity that came out of a bad situation. But other than that, you've got to take inventory of yourself and your surroundings and the people around you, and say, are these people a positive impact on my life? Is this action a positive action on my life? And when you do that, you start to realize that, you have more freedom when you feel like you control your happiness. It's just something that's very, very, very important to me. I'm fortunate that I've got an amazing wife of a little over, been together since 2012, and we got married in 2017, and she's an entrepreneur as well. And she understands what it takes. And so we've got tremendous support there. I've got a family that is very supportive, and, it takes a lot of effort to control your happiness, because it's easy to just go along with, well, I've been friends with this person forever, so I just have to change that. And you just let inertia set in, and it's important to constantly be looking for positives in any situation, and ultimately to not sweat the small stuff, to not let little things bother you. If something does bother you, do something about it. And find and create time for the things that makes you happy. My wife and I cook every night, and it's something that we've always loved doing, and just makes us happy, and throwing some music on, and just little things like that don't seem big, but you start to create some of these habits and some of these things and these positive associations with action and mindset. And it's just an incredibly important thing to me. Again, just to create those. The hardest thing to do is start. Everyone has a little bit more time on their hands. So just, encourage everybody to just start.
And finally, just tell me, how can the people of Dallas find your company if they're interested in getting out of Dodge, buddy?
Yeah. So the website's peakluxurytravel.com, peak like the mountain, PEAK, and, handle business for everybody, in the United States, no matter where you are. So we've got clients all over the country. On Instagram at peakluxurytravel.com. You can email me, aj@peakluxurytravel.com. We'll take care of you. So if anything from, all-inclusive trips to weekend trips to creating, incredible memories with your points and miles, we offer consultations on that. So whatever we can do to help, that's what we're here to do.
Fantastic, Eddie. Next time I hop on an airplane and head to Dallas, we should hook up, buddy. I want to thank you for your time this morning, and thanks so much for being here. I enjoyed our conversation.
Thanks for having me on, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Fantastic.